What if one small decision between May 8th and 10th could silence your light for years? Hello, Leo. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, a sacred space for awakened souls like you. If you've clicked on this video today, it's not a coincidence. It's not random. It's a call. This isn't just another horoscope update. This is a karmic message that the universe is hand-delivering straight to your spirit, at the exact moment you needed it most. Because from May 8th to May 10th, something rare is happening. And if you're not careful, if your actions are driven by pride, fear, or the need to prove yourself, you could miss one of the most pivotal turning points in your spiritual path this entire year. I know that sounds intense. But Leo, you're no stranger to intensity. You are ruled by the sun. You are the light. You are the flame that inspires others just by being alive. But even the brightest stars face shadows. Even the sun sometimes gets eclipsed. And that's what this reading is about. During these 3 days, your ruling planet, the sun, is caught in a karmic entanglement between Jupiter, belief, Mercury, thoughts and communication, and Venus, desire, love, comfort. It's a cosmic pressure cooker that could bring out your most reactive tendencies, the need to be seen, the urge to defend your value, or the fear of being misunderstood. The danger isn't external. The trap is internal, acting from a wounded ego instead of grounded wisdom. And if you're feeling a little off lately, like you've been questioning your role, your light, or your direction, then this is 100% for you. So before we go any deeper, take a deep breath with me. Really, inhale through your nose, exhale slowly through your mouth. And if you're open to what's about to unfold, I want you to comment below with an angel number that resonates with your soul right now. Maybe 1111, 444, or 888. These numbers help anchor your energy and signal to the universe, I am ready. Also, let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe, it's more than just a number. It's a soul connection. Your support helps this channel grow, but more importantly, it strengthens the energetic circle we are building here at Eternal Mindfulness. So thank you. Truly. And Leo, you'll want to stay with me all the way to the end of this reading. Because what the stars are about to reveal is not just powerful. It's breathtaking. And it could change everything. So let me ask you this. What brought you here today? Was it a silent tug in your heart? A repeated dream? A feeling like something's shifting and you can't quite name it yet? Whatever it was, trust it. It brought you here for a reason. Now, get comfortable. Close the tabs. Silence the outside world. Because what you're about to hear is not just astrology. It's a mirror. A reckoning. And maybe, just maybe, the key to unlocking the next evolution of your power. Let's begin. When we step into the days between May 8th and 10th, something subtle yet powerful begins to stir within the Leo spirit. You may not even realize it at first. It might arrive as a faint sense of restlessness, a whisper of discomfort, or the soft ache of not being fully seen. But underneath that feeling is a deeper current, a quiet invitation from life itself asking you to grow beyond the identity you've so carefully shaped. And the truth is, this is not a punishment. It's a moment of sacred refinement. Leo, you were born to shine. That's not just poetic, it's encoded in your essence. But even light must learn how to bend without breaking. Even the sun, as unwavering as it seems, knows how to bow gently at the horizon, giving space for the moon to rise. These next few days are not about whether others recognize your brilliance. They are about whether you can hold on to your inner radiance even when no one is clapping. Astrologically, your ruling planet, the Sun, is being pulled into a dynamic tension with Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus. This isn't just a cosmic configuration, it's a mirror reflecting back your internal dilemmas. Mercury may question how you're communicating your truth. Jupiter may test the beliefs you've outgrown. And Venus may stir old desires for comfort or validation. When these forces collide, it's easy to fall into old patterns, reacting from pride, retreating into silence, or demanding to be heard. But real power? It comes when you can pause and choose a new way. This is not a time to defend your identity with force. It's a time to soften your gaze inward. Ask yourself, who am I without the applause? Who am I when no one is watching? Because the part of you that aches for recognition is not weak, it's simply forgotten that it was always worthy, even in stillness. In life, we are constantly offered chances to respond or react. One flows from wisdom, the other from habit. The discomfort you may feel during these days is not a sign that something's gone wrong. It's the gentle pressure that breaks open what is rigid. It's the cracking of an old shell, so something more expansive can emerge. And it takes incredible strength to remain open in moments when everything inside you wants to close. There is a timeless teaching that reminds us, when someone offends you and you feel heat rising within, that is the exact moment your practice begins. Not spiritual practice, but the practice of remembering who you are beneath reaction. Not the performer, not the protector, but the presence. The one who can hold hurt without becoming hard. The one who can feel unseen without shrinking. So if you find yourself tempted to lash out or withdraw, pause. Breathe. Not because it's polite, but because it is powerful. Every pause is a small liberation. Every breath is a return to clarity. You don't need to prove your worth. Not here. Not now. You are already worthy, simply by being. And that's why these karmic tests arrive quietly. Not to trap you, but to awaken you. You're not being asked to shrink or suppress your light. You're being asked to purify it, to let go of the need for it to be reflected back in every moment. Because sometimes, the greatest recognition doesn't come from others. It comes from finally seeing yourself clearly, even in the shadows. Let yourself be seen, not for who you think you need to be, but for who you truly are, when your heart is steady, and your spirit is unshaken. That is the light the world has been waiting for. That is the Leo you came here to become. When the need to prove ourselves takes center stage, something essential within us begins to grow silent. For Leo, whose very nature is to radiate, to lead, and to express the heart openly, this silence isn't peace, it's a kind of quiet suffocation. These days between May 8th and 10th ask a difficult but transformative question. Is your light still flowing from within you, or have you started performing just to be seen? It's a subtle line, easily blurred. Maybe you've been holding on to a relationship that no longer supports your growth, telling yourself that love must endure even when it feels like a slow unraveling. Maybe you've rejected guidance, not because it wasn't helpful, but because it felt like an insult to your independence. Or maybe you've paused on a new opportunity, not out of readiness, but because the fear of failing publicly feels more threatening than the loss of the dream itself. These patterns aren't flaws. They're signs. They reveal where ego has taken the wheel, replacing your natural courage with self-protection dressed as pride. The problem isn't that Leo wants to shine. The danger comes when the desire to be seen morphs into a need to be validated, when your actions are shaped more by how they'll be perceived than by what your soul truly longs for. This is the trap that turns strength into stagnation. And in this cosmic moment, when your ruling sun is under pressure from Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, these inner tensions are likely to surface. Not to punish you, but to show you the edges of an old identity that can no longer carry the weight of your becoming. There's a teaching that says, true mastery begins when we stop trying to impress and start trying to understand. Not understanding others, but understanding ourselves, what we're clinging to, why we defend certain stories, and whether those stories are still aligned with our truth. Pride, when balanced, is beautiful. It protects our boundaries, honors our growth, and fuels our voice. But when pride hardens into rigidity, we begin to mistake resistance for wisdom and isolation for sovereignty. We start confusing silence with strength and hiding our vulnerability behind control. But Leo, your true light was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to flow. Like fire, it warms. Like the sun, it illuminates without asking anything in return. And if you've forgotten that lately, it's okay. This is your moment to remember. You don't have to perform. You don't have to convince. The most radiant version of you doesn't arrive when everyone finally sees your worth. It rises when you no longer need them to. The mistake isn't in wanting to be seen. It's in believing that your worth depends on it. When we operate from that belief, we trap ourselves in a loop, always doing more, trying harder, sacrificing softness for visibility. But what if your greatest strength right now is in letting go? Not letting go of ambition or expression, but letting go of the pressure to make every step of your path justified in someone else's eyes. In quiet moments, notice where tension gathers in your body. Often, the place you feel tightest, your jaw, your chest, your shoulders, is where your ego is trying to hold control. Breathe into that space. Release. Not as a performance, but as a practice. This is where self-trust begins, not in loud declarations, but in the quiet refusal to abandon yourself for applause. So if the next few days test you, if a comment stings, or a door doesn't open, pause. Don't chase. Don't defend. Just feel the heat and stay. Because real transformation doesn't come when we win every battle. It comes when we realize, we don't need to fight them anymore. There is something profoundly healing about choosing to pause, especially when every part of you wants to push forward, to prove, to defend your value. And yet, Leo, in this moment of cosmic intensity, the most courageous thing you can do is return to your original light. Not the version of you shaped by expectation or past applause, but the quiet, radiant core of who you were before the world asked you to perform. When the ego is agitated, it whispers stories about needing to prove our place, our worth, our right to be seen. But the heart knows better. The heart doesn't shout. It gently remembers. That's why this ritual isn't about fixing anything. It's about remembering who you were before you felt like you had something to prove. It's about shedding the layers of performance and returning to the clarity of presence. Begin with a blank sheet of paper. Not because it's magical, but because emptiness has always been the beginning of transformation. Writing down 3 recent moments where you felt the need to prove yourself, whether at work, in love, or in your family, allows you to see the places where your energy has been tangled in expectation. It's not about judgment. It's about recognition. You are bringing the unconscious into the light, and with that awareness, you begin to release. At the bottom of the page, you write one word, Solaris. This isn't just a label. It's a reminder. It means light that cannot be manipulated by ego. When you see this word, you're not just reading it, you're calling back the part of yourself that knows how to shine simply because shining is its nature. Then, place your hand over your heart. Not as a gesture of drama, but as a way to bring attention back to where the truth always lives. With your eyes closed, say softly, I am light. I do not need to be seen to know I am radiant. I trust the process. These words don't need to be loud to be powerful. Repeating them is not about affirming what you wish to be true, it's about aligning with what has always been true, beneath the noise of your proving. Each morning from May 8th to May 10th, take 5 minutes for stillness. Sit upright. Face the light, if you can. And as you breathe, visualize a sun, not in the sky, but within your chest. It doesn't ask for recognition. It simply burns, steady and alive. Notice its warmth. Notice how it pulses without effort. That light is your essence. Not your role. Not your reputation. Your essence. This visualization is not a metaphor. It's a practice of remembering. And if the mind wanders, let it. But keep returning, gently, patiently. The breath is your guide. Each inhale, a way back. Each exhale, a release of what no longer belongs. Colors can support this process, not because they hold power, but because they speak to your nervous system in ways words cannot. During these days, surround yourself with soft gold, peachy coral, or deep ruby red. These hues stimulate the heart, root the body, and rekindle the spirit. They are not costumes for performance, they are tones that echo your inner warmth. What you are doing through this ritual is more than self-care. It is self-return. Not to a version of you that needs to compete or convince, but to the Leo who knows that the sun never asks the earth to applaud, it just rises, again and again, in unwavering presence. And that is exactly what you are here to do. Caring for the unseen parts of yourself doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes, it looks like a full night's rest. Sometimes, it's a pause before saying yes. As we move through this potent window from May 8th to 10th, Leo, what you do for your physical, emotional, and practical well-being becomes more than routine, it becomes a declaration of self-respect. And that kind of care is what allows your true light to move from survival into alignment. Your heart is your center, not just symbolically, but biologically. The tension you may be carrying in your shoulders or chest right now isn't only from work or conversations, It's the body's quiet signal that your inner fire is being overextended. You've likely been absorbing more than you realize. With so much cosmic pressure bearing down, especially on ego-driven patterns, the nervous system often interprets this as threat, even when nothing dangerous is happening. So don't just push through. Slow down. Soften your stance. A warm cup of chamomile or lotus leaf tea in the evening isn't a luxury. It's a signal to your body that it's safe to relax. That you don't need to be on all the time. That your worth isn't tied to performance. Financially, this is not the time to rush. Offers may appear, opportunities may call, and they might even look ideal. But this isn't about rejecting them, it's about pausing long enough to discern. Who's behind this deal? What's motivating them? And just as importantly, what are you hoping to gain or prove through it? Sometimes, what looks like alignment is actually a repetition of an old pattern, one that says, if I just achieve this, I'll finally feel secure. True security doesn't come from locking in another agreement. It comes from feeling centered enough to say no when something doesn't match your deeper integrity. Relationships, too, are under an invisible magnifying glass during this transit. If you felt misunderstood or unrecognized by someone close to you, try not to interpret their silence or confusion as rejection. The heart has its own language, and sometimes, even those who love us most are still learning how to hear it. That doesn't mean you have to tolerate neglect. It means you listen not just with ears, but with patience. If you're single, resist the urge to fill space with surface connection. Emptiness isn't failure. It's preparation. Loneliness doesn't always mean you need someone else. It may mean you need to sit with yourself a little longer and remember that presence is its own kind of intimacy. Career-wise, something new may be trying to enter, but it's asking you to do the hard thing. Step aside from your pride. This isn't about shrinking. It's about making space. Sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to say yes without needing control. If a role shift, project, or partnership appears, ask, is this something that challenges my old identity, or is it here to support my evolution? And if your first instinct is to resist because it doesn't come the way you wanted, remember, the universe often delivers through detours. Not straight lines. Numbers hold vibration, and from May 8th to 10th, you may feel the frequency of 5, 1, and 9 working through your days. 5 brings lessons, situations that stretch your patience and demand flexibility. 1 speaks of new beginnings, but not just externally. It urges a reset of how you see yourself. 9 asks you to release an outdated habit, a draining dynamic, or even a mindset that's kept you safe but small. Together, they form a trinity of transformation. You are being asked to stretch, to start again, and to surrender. Not because you are broken, but because this is how your energy clears space for expansion. So take care of your body like it's a vessel for brilliance. Make choices with the long game in mind. Let love be something you move through with grace instead of fear. And trust that what's meant to be yours will never ask you to betray your inner rhythm to get it. You are learning how to thrive from within, Leo, and the world will feel that glow. There comes a point in every journey where the most powerful move isn't to shine brighter, but to realize you never needed to chase the light in the first place. For Leo, a sign ruled by the sun, this realization can feel paradoxical. You're used to being the source of warmth, of visibility, of presence. But during this window of cosmic recalibration, from May 8th to 10th, you're being asked to reconsider what light actually means, and more importantly, where it comes from when applause is absent and validation is silent. Responsibility isn't always about doing more. Sometimes, it's about remembering more, remembering that the radiance you've associated with achievement or attention has always lived within you. You were never meant to seek it through constant action or external confirmation. When your energy is rooted in that inner knowing, everything around you begins to change, not because you're forcing it to, but because you've stopped abandoning yourself to fit a mold that no longer aligns. Often, we confuse reaction with responsibility. We think that standing up for ourselves means shouting back, proving our point, or sacrificing our peace to make others understand. But true responsibility isn't noisy. It's grounded. It's a steady choice to remain aligned even when ego pulls you toward performance. That's what these days are about, not dimming your light, but anchoring it so deeply that no fluctuation outside you can shake its presence. You don't need to act just to be seen. You don't need to speak just to be heard. You don't need to burn yourself out maintaining an image that was never meant to be permanent. And when you feel that pull, to fight, to defend, to rush forward in order to reclaim your glow, pause. Because what you're really being asked is not, can you shine through this? But rather, can you stay with yourself, even when things feel dim? This is what it means to step into conscious evolution. It means choosing patience when urgency would be easier. It means allowing space for reflection when reaction feels more gratifying. And it means no longer mistaking stillness for weakness. There's a wisdom and restraint that outshines the need to constantly explain or prove. It says, I know who I am, even when the world is uncertain. There's a teaching that reminds us, clarity doesn't arise by grasping for it. It arises when the grasping ends. When you no longer try to control how others see you. When you release the need to measure your impact by how loud your voice echoes. When you trust that your essence speaks for itself, even in silence. So what does responsibility look like right now? It looks like choosing presence over performance. It looks like responding from clarity rather than reacting from fear. It looks like stepping back, not to give up, but to gain a deeper view. And most of all, it looks like remembering that your light does not need a spotlight to exist. It just needs space to breathe. If you feel ready, speak this aloud, not to the world, but to yourself. I choose evolution over fear-based reaction. Let that be your compass. Let that be your quiet revolution. And if it resonates, write it below. Not because you need to be seen doing it, but because declaring your choice helps the energy crystallize into action. You are not here to chase the light, Leo. You are the light. And your greatest strength isn't in how brightly you shine when everything is perfect, it's in how steadily you glow when everything is uncertain. That's not just power. That's mastery. And it's already within you. Leo, if you're still here, still listening, then your soul has already crossed a threshold. Not because you rushed, not because you forced anything, but because in this exact breath, you chose stillness. You chose to listen. And those who are brave enough to pause in the middle of noise, they are the ones truly stepping beyond the karmic patterns that no longer serve them. You didn't come into this world to constantly prove your worth. You came here to live as your full self, with or without applause, with or without a spotlight. Because true light doesn't scream for attention. It simply belongs. And it radiates effortlessly when it's honored in the right place. Maybe these past few days you felt misunderstood, or maybe you've been holding tightly to something that once defined you, a role, a relationship, a version of success. But Leo, nothing in nature stays the same forever. Even the sun, your ruling force, rises in a slightly different place each day. Its light adjusts, evolves, transforms. That movement is the miracle. Your path doesn't need to be fast. It just needs to be honest. Your love doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to feel like truth, not performance. And this life? It doesn't demand that you're always at the top to be worthy. It simply asks that you're real. You've been strong for so long. But now, true strength might look like softening. Like forgiving yourself for the pressure. Like opening the door for a new kind of light to enter, not the kind that blinds, but the kind that heals. You are no longer the Leo of yesterday. You are evolving. You are rising into the version of yourself that destiny has been gently calling forward. So if these words have landed somewhere deep in your heart, take a small but powerful action. Comment below and declare your truth. I no longer need to prove anything. I am full light. I choose flexibility and honesty with myself. Like this video as a commitment to your growth. Let it be your signal to the universe. I heard the message. I'm ready. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness so that you never walk this path alone, because you aren't. This journey toward authentic light is one we walk together, soul by soul, quietly but surely. And if this message reminds you of someone who might be silently struggling, share it. Sometimes, a single sentence at the right moment can pull someone back from the edge. You never know whose heart you're helping heal. Before you go, I want to leave you with one question. It's simple, but it holds power. If fear no longer controlled you, if you truly trusted the light within you, what would you choose to do first, tomorrow? Hold that answer close. Let it guide your next step, not with urgency, but with sincerity. Leo, you do not need to be understood to be lovable. You do not need to win to be radiant. You are the miracle, not because you've overcome fear entirely, but because you dare to live with truth even when fear is present. That's all it takes. That's what moves destiny. That's what calls your light back, not loud, not rushed, but stronger and steadier than ever before.